Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Look, divorce is stressful enough without all the financial guesswork, right? So let's dive right into the real financial and procedural realities of getting a divorce in Ontario in 2026. If you've been searching for clear answers online, you've probably hit a massive wall of outdated information, terrifying forum posts, or just incredibly confusing legal jargon. Today, we are cutting entirely through that noise. We're going to look strictly at the facts, the actual numbers, and the precise steps you need to take to protect yourself.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We'll be covering the real cost compared, we'll expose some hidden expenses, we'll figure out if DIY filing is actually safe, look at high-risk danger zones, and finally, go over how to find legal help fast.
Starting with number 1, the real cost compared, visualizing your financial path forward. Let's tackle the giant elephant in the room first. How much is this actually gonna cost? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is that no matter what path you take, everyone pays this baseline $669 in court fees. Think of it as the absolute floor of divorce costs in Ontario. It's the toll you just have to pay to get on the highway. This isn't some arbitrary number either. It breaks down into a $214 Ontario application fee, a $10 federal registry fee, and a $445 fee to actually request the final divorce order. So whether you decide to do all the paperwork yourself at your kitchen table, or you hire a fancy, top-tier Bay Street law firm, you cannot avoid this base fee. The courts simply do not accept IOUs. Unless you qualify for a very specific low-income fee waiver, this $669 is your starting line. Now, as we move forward, just look at this massive difference in potential costs based on the path you choose. It's literally a fork in the road. If you go the DIY uncontested route, your absolute maximum realistic cost is going to sit around $1,800. A joint divorce, where you and your spouse file the paperwork together and maybe share some basic legal review, caps out at around $3,000. But the moment things get contested, meaning you and your ex fundamentally disagree on a major issue and need a judge to intervene, the costs absolutely skyrocket. We are talking $25,000 or way more. When we break those numbers down side by side, the reason for that massive jump becomes incredibly obvious. Notice how that $669 court fee stays perfectly flat across the board? The variable that blows up your budget isn't the government, it's conflict. Lawyer fees during disputes are exactly what pushes contested divorces into the tens of thousands. Because think about it. Every single angry email you forward to your lawyer, every minor disagreement over who gets the living room couch, and every back-and-forth negotiation translates directly into billable hours. The more you and your spouse fight over property, support, or parenting, the more hours a lawyer has to work. And when a lawyer is billing hundreds of dollars an hour, those $7,000 to $25,000 price tags become a reality very quickly. Moving on to part 2. Beware of hidden expenses, the unsexy fees you probably forgot to budget for. So even on those cheaper, uncontested paths, there is a total iceberg effect of hidden fees you need to anticipate. Missing a simple, unsexy fee can completely stall your filing. For instance, you can't just text or email the divorce papers to your ex and call it a day. The court requires official proof that they received the documents. You need to officially serve them, which usually means hiring a professional process server for up to $200. You also need to pay for an official certified marriage certificate. And here's a big one. If you are married outside of Canada in a language other than English or French, you must pay for a certified translation. Skipping that translation is the single most common reason an otherwise perfectly clean application gets rejected by a judge. Also, if you're signing a separation agreement, getting independent legal advice, or ILA, is practically mandatory if you want that agreement to actually hold up in court long term. All right, part 3. Is DIY filing safe? Let's assess your legal risk. Knowing all these costs, how do you determine if handling the paperwork yourself is actually a safe bet? Well, it's a strict green light, red light system. DIY is great and entirely realistic if you agree on absolutely everything. If you are asking the court for the divorce and only the divorce, and you have zero unresolved issues regarding children, property, or support, you have the green light to proceed on your own. But if you fall into the red light category, meaning you're arguing over who gets the house, who pays what in spousal support, or how to structure the parenting schedules, trying to save a few bucks by doing it yourself is a recipe for absolute disaster. The court system does not give out an A for effort. If your situation is complex, you absolutely need a map. Now, if you are safely in that green light category, you're going to use Form 8A. Actually, cement this in your mind right now, because the court clerks are incredibly strict about this. Using the wrong form is the #1 reason DIY applications get rejected. A wrongly checked box means your application gets tossed in the rejection pile, wasting months of your time. Form 8A is exclusively for a simple, uncontested divorce. If you accidentally throw a property claim or a support request onto this specific form, the court will kick it right back to you. For anything more complex than that, you would need Form 8, the general application. Which brings us to Part 4, high-risk danger zones. This is when a mistake is permanent. Let's really step into those red light situations for a minute, because going in blind here can totally wreck your financial future. This brings up a critical question. When does trying to save money on a lawyer end up costing you everything? It is so tempting to look at those massive legal fees we discussed earlier and think, hey, I can outsmart the system. But family law is incredibly complex when real money, retirement funds, and property are on the line. If pensions, a business, or the matrimonial home are involved, Ontario's equalization laws are mathematically unforgiving. It's like walking a tightrope without a net. DIY mistakes here are often impossible to reverse. Imagine signing a DIY separation agreement you just found on the internet, where you accidentally waive your right to half of your spouse's defined benefit pension. That could literally be hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your retirement. You can't just go back to the judge a year later and say, oops, I didn't fully understand what I was signing. Can we do a do-over? Once it's done, it's done. A judge will not rescue you from a bad deal you signed willingly. And this brings us to what I like to call the ultimate life hack of the family law system. Even if you plan to do most of the heavy lifting yourself, spending between $150 and $500 on a 1-hour consult with a lawyer is the absolute best safety check you can make. It is literally spending a few $100 to protect hundreds of thousands of dollars. Family lawyers offer something called unbundled services. This means you don't have to put down a massive $25,000 retainer right out the gate. You can just pay them for one single hour of their time to look over your situation, point out your legal blind spots, and tell you if you are safely in the green light zone or wandering straight off a cliff into a red light danger zone. And finally, Part 5, finding legal help fast, getting matched in under 10 minutes. If you realize you're in one of those danger zones, finding the right lawyer quickly is your lifeline. Think of a platform called Olanur as the perfect antidote to all this stress. Instead of cold calling random law firms, leaving a bunch of voicemails, and just hoping for a callback days later, Olanur streamlines the entire process. It's an AI-powered platform designed specifically for Canadians, and it's completely free to use. You just answer a few short questions about your situation, like whether you have kids, property, or if things are heavily contested. Then it instantly matches you with verified Ontario family lawyers. And by verified, I mean strictly checked against the Law Society of Ontario. You see their upfront fees and can connect with the right expert in less than 10 minutes with absolutely zero pressure. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a hard look at your own situation honestly. You now know the real costs, you know about the hidden fees like process servers, and you completely understand the red light danger zones. Please don't let the desire to save a few $100s today cost you half of your retirement tomorrow. Take a breath, assess your path, and take the right next step. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If your entire financial future was going on trial tomorrow, would you really want to be your only line of defense?